Understanding Blind Spots, How to Effectively Work with People Who Aren't Self-Aware. Abstract. The article explores the challenges posed by individuals who lack self-awareness in organizational settings. Self-awareness, the ability to accurately perceive oneself and understand how one's behavior impacts others, is a valuable asset in the workplace. However, people who lack this self-awareness can struggle with behaviors that reduce productivity, damage team dynamics, and negatively impact organizational culture. The article provides specific recommendations for effectively working with self-unaware individuals, including setting clear expectations, providing objective feedback, focusing on shared goals rather than personalities, and leading with empathy and compassion. By employing these research-backed strategies, the article suggests that organizations can overcome the hurdles posed by self-unaware colleagues and foster cooperation and success despite varying levels of self-reflection within a team. When working in organizations, we will inevitably encounter people who lack self-awareness. Whether they are unaware of their limitations, have blind spots about how they come across to others, or fail to recognize how their actions impact those around them. People who lack self-awareness can pose unique challenges in the workplace. However, understanding human psychology and employing compassion can help us work more constructively with such individuals. Today, we will explore what self-awareness is and why it matters in organizations and provide specific recommendations for effectively working with people who lack self-awareness, including setting proper expectations, using objective feedback, focus on shared goals, and leading with empathy. What is self-awareness? Self-awareness refers to one's ability to accurately perceive themselves and understand how they come across to and impact others. Davis and Palladino. 2000. Self-aware people recognize both their strengths and limitations, can see multiple perspectives of a situation, and are attuned to how their behavior influences those around them. Mate. 2011. Research has shown self-awareness to positively correlate with emotional intelligence, strong communication and relationship skills, leadership effectiveness, and job performance. Kellett et al. 2006. Goldman, 1998. Judge and Bono, 2000. Those high in self-awareness make better decisions, manage conflict constructively, and easily adapt to change, all critical skills in today's fast-paced work environments. Why self-awareness matters at work. People who lack self-awareness, however, can struggle in organizational settings. They may be unaware of how off-putting certain behaviors come across, fail to recognize mistakes or flawed assumptions, and miss social cues that cause others discomfort or disengagement. This reduces productivity, damages team dynamics, and negatively impacts culture. Self-unaware individuals also have difficulty receiving feedback to improve, as their blind spots prevent seeing opportunities for growth. Leadership becomes more challenging without the self-reflection needed for flexibility and adaptation. Duvall and Wicklund. 1972. Ashford and Suey, 1991. Clearly, self-awareness is a valuable asset in the workplace. Its absence poses hurdles that must be carefully navigated by colleagues and leaders. By understanding potential pitfalls and employing empathy, cooperation is still possible even with self-unaware partners. Setting clear expectations. One way to account for others' lack of self-awareness is by transparently communicating all project goals, role responsibilities, organizational objectives, and behavior standards upfront. Allen and Rogelberg. 2013. Do not make assumptions that such details are implicitly understood. Instead, state everything explicitly to minimize confusion and set the stage for proper accountability. For example, weekly one-on-one check-ins allow clarifying active tasks, roles, objectives, etc., to reduce likelihood of blind spots and mismatched mental models impairing success. Clearly articulating goals was key for a West Coast technology company facing growing pains. As teams scaled, lack of coordination lowered productivity. Weekly goal-setting meetings with facilitators ensured roles were crystal clear. Project plans with measurable, time-bound objectives left little room for ambiguity. Over time, this promoted ownership and enabled early identification of issues before significant impacts. Setting high-level frameworks with self-unaware colleagues reduces dependence on their level of self-awareness. Explicit structures lead accountability rather than implicit assumptions. This approach was also employed by a Midwest hospital network dealing with physician onboarding challenges. Role expectations, workflow processes, and non-clinical support resources were clearly outlined to empower new physicians and ensure smooth transitions given varying self-awareness levels. Providing objective feedback, providing direct yet compassionate feedback is crucial for self-development. Yet those lacking insight may struggle to receive it properly without defensiveness. Ashford and Suey. 1991. London and Smither, 2002. Objective feedback focused on behaviors and impacts, not character or intentions, allows self-unaware individuals room for growth without threat to ego. Heath and Heath. 2017. Kinlaw, 1999. Feedback should be timely, consistent across observers where possible, and accompanied by clear examples for context. Rather than abstract criticisms, tangible observed behaviors show the discrepancy openly for discussion. For instance, after client meetings where rapport seemed lacking, a manager could say, "You tended to interrupt the client and steer discussions toward your perspectives without eliciting theirs first. In the future, try practicing active listening by restating what they share and asking open-ended questions." Specific feedback invites reflection rather than defensive reactions. The education sector offers one example. A community college observed low engagement and retention linked to specific teaching styles. Coordinating feedback across course evaluations and peer observations surfaced consistent behaviors for self-reflection, such as lecturing non-stop without breaks for interaction. With examples, teachers high in self-awareness adapted styles, while those lacking insight started to recognize patterns needing adjustment over time. Focus on shared goals rather than personalities when frustrations arise from self-unaware colleagues. Focusing on outcomes and collective success steers interactions positively. Rather than debating intentions, concentrate on agreed goals and solutions. Covey, 1997. Buckingham and Kaufman, 1999. Prioritize progress over interpersonal conflicts by shifting perspective from individuals to shared objectives. For instance, during heated debates where rapport seems threatened, redirect to mission-critical questions like, "How do we resolve this product issue most effectively for the client?" Surface compromises by inquiring what solutions allow meeting customer commitments rather than whose perspective holds most merit. In a large healthcare system, staff shortages endangered patient outcomes. Vocal physicians blamed administrators for constraints rather than focusing on alleviating burnout collaboratively. New leadership shifted conversations to brainstorming realistic, cross-functional solutions like streamlining documentation and float pool staffing. Teams coalesced around shared priorities of quality care rather than individual complaints. Restoring cooperation despite interpersonal gaps. Lead with empathy and compassion though demanding workarounds. Lacking self-awareness stems from human fallibility rather than character flaws. With empathy, one understands each person's intentions, however misguided, come from doing their perceived best. Goldman. 1998. Pugh, 2007. Compassion changes frustration to problem-solving by framing interactions positively rather than accusations. For example, acknowledging effort despite mistakes. "I know you want to help, so let's discuss what's really needed," signals care over criticism. This disarms defensiveness and invites cooperation. Heath and Heath, 2017. Stone et al. 2004. In education, a principal led with empathy when a veteran teacher faced mounting complaints. Rather than reprimanding for rigid styles, she affirmed commitment but acknowledged changing student needs. Together they created an action plan including coaching, colleague mentoring and classroom observations. Non-threatening supports recognizing the teacher's good intentions beneath surface issues. Seeing care versus condemnation built eventual buy-in for adaptive growth. With empathy and compassion as anchors, frustrations with self-unaware peers become opportunities for teamwork rather than barriers. This refocuses energy to constructive outcomes through understanding shared humanity. Conclusion: while self-awareness positively impacts organizations, we all have room for growth and blind spots to some degree. Recognizing this, leaders and colleagues can work productively even with self-unaware individuals by employing strategies discussed, clear expectations, objective constructive feedback, shared goal focus, and empathy. With compassion, we can overcome challenges posed by a lack of self-awareness in others through cooperation rather than conflicts. By keeping interactions solution-focused through these research-backed approaches, organizational success remains attainable regardless of varying degrees of self-reflection within a team.